This episode of Get Outta Here, the AP Travel Podcast, is sponsored by Carnival Corporation, the world's largest cruise company with 10 of the world's leading brands, including Carnival Cruise Line, Cunard, Holland America Line, Princess Cruises, and Seabourn. To learn about the world's leading cruise lines from Carnival Corporation and great vacation options, contact your travel professional or visit worldsleadingcruiselines.com.
It's Get Outta Here. I'm Warren Levinson. The summer's about here. A great time to hear some of your favorite music. But maybe you've got the voice of your mom playing in your head. I mean, maybe it's just my mom, but I doubt it. What are you doing indoors, in that dark rock club, or in that austere concert hall, when the weather is so nice outside? It is summer music festival time. That time when we take the music outside, throw in some picnicking, maybe some camping, and head for the Riverbend Festival in Chattanooga for a taste of Weezer or the Flat Top Boxers, or Major Lazer and Solange at the Parklife Festival in Manchester, England, or North by Northeast in Toronto. Our guide to the summer music festival scene is Nashville-based AP entertainment writer Kristin Hall.
Kristin Hall, let's start with the obvious. Who's playing? Where are they playing? What should we be looking forward to when it comes to music festivals? First the United States, and then with any luck, we'll talk about outside the United States.
You know, I think when you look at the lineups for music festivals, the top tier artists, they're all going to kind of look the same. And that this year is Ariana Grande, Childish Gambino, Cardi B, Post Malone, Casey Musgraves, Travis Scott, Vampire Weekend are just some of the few that you're going to see popping up a lot on festival circuits.
Are there artists who are even more fun to watch and listen to at festivals than, say, in a concert hall or in recording?
Yeah, I think that festivals these days, people want an experience that they're not going to get at a concert. And so, that's why you're paying the premium price, to go to a festival is, you want to see something unexpected happen. You want to see, Ariana Grande bring out, somebody, a special guest. So you're going to see, a lot of things that artists don't normally do in their regular concerts. A lot of times, festivals are places where acts reunite if they haven't been, touring or been together for a long time. They'll pop up after 10, 12 years at a festival. So that's another sort of unique thing.
What are the big names that are still really good in terms of festivals, and what are the ones that? This is the deal. I live in New York and have lived in New York for a long time, and I have this list of great New York things that are too big and too crowded to be much fun anymore. And I'm wondering if it's true as well with music festivals.
Well, big is the thing with festivals and crowds, and you're going to deal with that. So that is something I think that, you're not going to get away from with festivals. However, I think that there are festivals that have been doing it for a long time and doing it really well. Glastonbury is obviously one of the oldest ones, but then more recent ones like Coachella, Lollapalooza, Austin City Limits, Bonnaroo, all of those have been around for a long time, and they've managed to adapt with changes in the music business and changes to what fans want to see. Sometimes Bonnaroo started off as mainly sort of a rock and jam band festival, and now this year, Cardi B is headlining it.
Wow, that's that's a serious turnaround.
It is, yes, right, yes, yeah. I think that's if a lot there's so many more festivals than there ever were, and it takes many years for these festivals to be profitable. I've heard estimates anywhere from like 3 to 7 years for a festival to actually kind of make money, which is crazy. But that's because there's so much competition, for the dollars that music fans are spending. So, they've got to offer something unusual, something they're not going to see, down the road or at a regular concert.
Let's talk a little consumers about festivals. Let's talk a little bit about, okay, let's say a festival you haven't heard of before that maybe it doesn't have the cachet. You're willing to take a flyer. What should you be looking for to see if they really have their act together?
Well, it is sometimes hard for the average fan to sort of know, behind the scenes of like who's putting it on, I think that what you want to look for is that they have adequate, space, parking if you're driving there, space if you're camping, that they have a good, good information about security, that, they have a lot of information about what's going to be available on site, whether it's food or drinks or, spaces, to get out of the sun if it's a summer festival. So, I think you just kind of want to look to see that reviews often help a lot. If it's a festival that's been around for more than a year, what are people saying about it online? I think fans, music fans in particular, like to share their opinion, and they'll do so freely about the bands that they like to see, the concerts they like to go to, and the festivals they go to.
I heard a sports writer the other day describe this year's Preakness as, well, Pimlico's throwing a big party and they invited some horses. So
what I'm suggesting here is the music festival basically a big party, and oh yeah, they got some music there as well?
Yeah, it really is about the experience. And obviously you're going because you want to hear music, you want to discover your next favorite band, or you want to, see, 2 or 3 top tier artists all at the same place. But at the same time, I think that a lot of these festivals know that in order to keep people coming back, they have to give them experiences, whether it's, I know a lot of festivals have, different side, stages that like are specifically for like comedy or film or arts, or food. So, I think you're getting the music definitely, but what you're really paying for is a lot of the other stuff, the other experiences that you can have,
Do you hear people coming back from festivals saying, man, it was great. We had a great time. It was a great party. Music, yeah, it wasn't that great, but it was, we really had fun.
Oh yeah. I think that there are I think in music, fans can be pretty loyal. If you're a country music fan, you've probably picked out a few concerts or artists or festivals that you're routinely going to every year, because it's going to be a good time. You're going to have friends that are going to meet you there, So yeah, I think there's some loyalty there for music fans. They certainly want to try new things, but they also, have a lot of trust in some of the festivals they go to and say, I know they're going to put up a good lineup, often buying tickets before the lineup is even released.
It's Get Outta Here, the AP Travel Podcast. More on summer music festivals, plus my favorite trip with Julian Lennon after a break.
Download the AP News app for the latest in news, sports, travel, entertainment, and more. Available now for iPhone and iPad.
I'm Warren Levinson. Back to AP entertainment writer Kristin Hall on summer music festivals.
This is a pretty light show in general, but we have to go to some dark places for this next set of questions, really. You wrote last year about what it is sometimes like for women, particularly women traveling alone at some of these festivals in terms of sexual harassment. Can you recap some of what you found when you looked into this?
Yeah, I think in the wake of, Me Too and Time's Up, we wanted to talk to people and women about sexual harassment at festivals and also at, music venues as well. It can happen just about anywhere in any sort of public space. But festivals are very tricky because the crowds are so large. It's often not clear where security is or if there is security present. And there's a sense that, you might be drinking, you might be, enjoying some other. So I think festivals are a really complicated environment, it's not always clear where the safe places are. And so, we talk to a lot of women and women artists, too, about what experiences they've had. And a lot of times it can be something like groping. It can be sexual assaults. There have been sexual assaults reported at festivals, rapes. And so it can really escalate very quickly, and in a big crowd, it's very hard to find a safe space. And so there have been agencies and some festivals that are trying to address it and trying to make sure that women feel comfortable, and not just women, but also LGBTQ as well, people, fans. And so you're starting to see, booths set up at festivals so that, when people come in, they can go get information, and if they see something happens to them, they know where to go.
And are there festivals or artists who are doing a credible job in this sort of thing, or is it just, it seems so large to police, and that you, as a promoter, you almost throw up your hands and say, this is an awful world out here. I don't know how I can control it.
Yeah, there are. I mean, I think Bonnaroo is one that has been doing some training with a lot of their staff. Because I think even if you're, let's say you're working at a festival, you're handing out beers or, serving food, you may not know, what to look for, or where to go either if you see something happening. And so I think that's a good sign. There's Lollapalooza and Riot Fest, both in the Chicago area, are working with an organization called Our Music, My Body, to bring volunteers in, again, to help with training, to man booths there as well.
And to get, even darker, the Route 91 Harvest Festival in Las Vegas, all right, 2017, worst mass shooting in American history, 58 dead, hundreds injured. I understand they're going to try and do it. They're planning on doing it again this year. Does even separate from how they pull it off and how people treat it, what about the issue of security, and has that cast some kind of pall over the whole open air music scene?
The Route 91 shooting, it was a country music festival, and so I spent a lot of time talking to people who were there, and not only fans but artists as well. And it was definitely a wake-up call. I think we have seen other instances. There was a bombing at an Ariana Grande concert as well. But I think that what transpired in Las Vegas really encouraged the live music industry to take a look at what they can do to make these festivals more secure. I think it probably also gave a lot of fans some pause when they do consider where, if I'm going to go to a festival, or, even if you're a parent and you're like, should I let my kid go to this festival? So I think that, I think the point is that this is not a new thing. We have seen mass shootings happen everywhere, and it happened at a festival, and it'll probably happen again. But I think that a lot of the industry is trying to take steps to make them more secure.
Right. And you'll probably see you're probably already seeing somewhat more security, people being wanded, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you really can't go to, any sort of like public event, whether it's a sporting event or a music event, without, going, going through a, metal detector, having clear bags, those kinds of things are sort of like, standard now.
Okay, festival stories. You have one? You have a thing that you really enjoyed at a festival that you'd like to share?
Oh, well, so, I mean, mostly, I've covered a lot of Bonnaroo festivals. And so those are, Bonnaroo is a camping festival. And so if you're not comfortable with that, that may be not the festival for you. But I think it's really grown. I think it's well over, I think it's 15 years that they've been around. And so they've had a lot of like really cool performances. I got to see U2 play. And they did the full Joshua Tree album, which is, that's again a unique experience that you're not going to get, anywhere else. And I think that was the first time they had ever played a U.S. festival as well. I saw Kanye West at Bonnaroo in 2014, and that was also a very unique experience because he had played that festival about 6 years prior. And it was a disaster. Like, I don't think he went on until like 4:30 in the morning. And so he had, he was headlining in 2014. There was a lot of attention. People wanted to see if he was going to show up. And he did on time. But, he, of course, wanted to air some grievances before the show started.
He's Kanye, of course. Isn't that part of the show?
It is part of the show, apparently. Now, that's sort of something to be expected. But he put it on, after he, sort of let everyone know what he was thinking about Bonnaroo. He put on a great performance, and everyone loved it. The crowd loved it. So, those are the things that you go to a festival, you see something spectacular, and you go home and you tell your friends about it, and you post about it, you post Instagram photos. And that's what keeps people coming back, is because they want to see something they're never going to see again, and something they can talk about long afterwards.
Kristin Hall is an AP entertainment writer based in Nashville. And now, my favorite trip. Julian Lennon is a musician, a photographer, a social activist, and the eldest son of you-know-who. He's been on 3 trips recently, any one of which might have qualified as the trip of a lifetime for many of us. He talked about them with our colleague, Brooke Lefferts.
I was invited on a cruise of sorts. It was private, but it was more like TED Talks on the water. So some of the smartest minds in the world were on the boat. Smartest artists, painters, writers, musicians. It was all about sharing their love and promoting that. But during the journey, we would go to places that some of us had never been before. On this particular trip that I was lucky enough to be invited on, we went to China for the first time. So I was in Beijing, went to the Great Wall, went to several cities in Japan, and then to Shanghai. And so that in and of itself, not only the journey, but the introduction to other interesting aspects of life, the head people that were dealing with AI, biochemistry, you name it. I mean, it was very insightful stuff, giving one, yet again, another perspective on life. So that was a unique one. But I'd probably have to say that in reality, the most extreme was the journey through Ethiopia. In the back of a truck for 6 hours at a time to go in that somewhere, in the middle of nowhere. to see the state of the villages with or without clean water, and also Kenya again. That, I guess, the only other recent one that would have been very, very interesting for me. I was invited by the tourist board, the Philippine Tourist Board, to go and visit an island of theirs. It's called Boracay, which they decided for environmental reasons to literally close for 6 months because the locals were concerned that the place was being destroyed, and it was. I mean, it was such a beautiful island that it had become a sort of party island, and it was really looking a bit of a mess. There were endangered species that were being lost. The corals were starting to be bleached and were dying, and the local fauna was starting to, seriously be affected by it. So they shut the place down for 6 months, which is quite amazing. And they saw a massive regrowth and return by the coral and by local species, especially there was the foxbat, I think it was, which pollinates a lot of the things on the island. So it was quite an important thing. And I think that I thought that was a very interesting thing because I'd never really sort of considered sustainable tourism. I'd never, even really thought about that. And I'm going, oh my God, all of these places that we go to, that we trash and destroy, that we have done in the past, we're going to lose everything if we don't really consider what we're doing, and be accountable for all of that. So I thought that was a very smart move to do that, and I think that should be taken up by many more tourist locations around the world. That they need to, like the old agricultural farming days, is shift things around in rotation so that not everything is completely gone and wasted and destroyed.
Julian Lennon is a musician and photographer. A play about his parents, John and Cynthia Lennon, opens this August in Liverpool. And that's the show. Get Outta Here is produced by the Associated Press under the supervision of Nikessa Moody and Peter Costanzo. I'm Warren Levinson. We'll see you next time.
This episode of Get Outta Here, the AP Travel Podcast, was sponsored by Carnival Corporation, the world's largest cruise company with 10 of the world's leading brands, including Carnival Cruise Line, Cunard, Holland America Line, Princess Cruises, and Seabourn. To learn about the world's leading cruise lines from Carnival Corporation and great vacation options, contact your travel professional or visit worldsleadingcruiselines.com.